This week we're on to lesson 16 of Code.org, Functions with Harvester. So this week we're going to be working with functions, and functions are a way to simplify your code. You can label a set of code and then you could just use it over and over again easily. So we used this a little last week and we'll use it again this week as well. So we have different blocks here. We have the action blocks, loops, conditionals, and functions. And here with a function, what you could do is you could make a code. Let's say you wanted to call this, testing. And then what you could do is you could, make testing, let's say move forward. And then you could say turn right. And then when you go to functions, now it has testing. And whenever I do testing, he'll move forward and turn right. Okay, so that's a function. You can label your code and use it over and over again. Now, we're not going to use that for this one, but I just wanted to demonstrate. So let's take a look at how to complete this one. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look for a loop. And we don't have the traditional loop, repeat 3 times or whatever, but we have these loops over here. So we can say repeat until there are pumpkins. What should we do? We should move forward. And then what should we do when we get to the pumpkin? We're going to pick the pumpkin. Yeah, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, now they give us a function here, check square for corn. If there is corn, pick corn. Okay, so that function here is going to be this block. Okay, check square for corn. So every time we do check square for corn, we're going to really do this. If there's corn, pick corn. Okay, so let's take a look at this. What's the first thing we could do? Let's look for a loop. We can say, while the path is ahead, while the path is ahead, we're going to move forward. And as we move forward, we're going to check for corn. And how do we check for corn? We use the function. Function, check square for corn. So let's take a look how this goes. While ahead, pick for corn, check for corn. But what do you got to do when you get here? You're going to have to pick a pumpkin. Okay, so let's take a look again. So while the path is ahead, and I also have to put this into the loop here. Okay, so while the path's ahead, I'm going to move forward and then check for corn using this function. I'm going to move forward, check square for corn, move forward, check for corn, move forward, check for corn, and then when I get to the end here, pick pumpkin. Okay, let's go to the next one. So this one looks a little intimidating here. It's a big maze, but you have a function here, the same one from last time, check square for corn. If there is corn, pick corn. Now we learned this from last time, from the last one we just did. We had repeat until there are pumpkins. Well, actually that was from the first one, repeat until there's pumpkins. Well, what can we do? We can move forward, and then we could use our function, check for corn. Okay, so we're going to move forward while the paths, until there are pumpkins, we're going to move forward. And we're going to say move forward and then check for corn. And our function check for corn is really if there's corn, pick corn. Okay, so let's take a look at this. And then when we get here, what should we do? We should do pick a pumpkin. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, so what this does is it keeps us going forward, and we go forward and check for a corn. Forward, check, forward, check, forward, check. And then when you get here, you pick your pumpkin. Now what do you have to do? You have to turn left. And 2 times forward and then the left. Now what are you going to do when you get here? This is going to be the same thing that you did earlier. You're going to say, repeat until there are pumpkins. Then you move forward. You move this out of the way. And then you're going to use your function. You're going to say function, check for corn. So you're going here, move forward, check for corn, move forward, check for corn, move forward. You're going to check for corn, etc. You keep doing it. And then when you get here, what are you going to do? You're going to pick a pumpkin. Okay, so now you still have this function here, check for corn, but you also have this one here, get all pumpkins. While there are pumpkins, pick pumpkins. So you see, a function makes it easier for us because now we have one block. Instead of using all these blocks, we could just have them from here. We could just use the ones over here, check for corn, check for pumpkins. So let's take a look at this one here. How are we going to do this one here? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our loop, and we're going to use this one. Repeat until there are pumpkins. Okay, repeat until there are pumpkins. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to move forward. We did this similar with the other one. We're going to move forward, and we're going to say a function, if there is corn, pick the corn. So we're going to check for corn. Okay, so let's see how that goes. Now, what should we do when we get to the pumpkin? We're going to say, while there are pumpkins, pick pumpkins. And that's a function here. We're going to use this function here, get all pumpkins. Okay? So that will get all the pumpkins there. Our function makes it easier for us. We just use this one block. And this is like that other one. Then we're going to say turn left. And actions forward, forward. So you do them in order. That way you remember how you did the last one. Then you're going to turn to the left. Turn to the left, right? And then once you turn to the left, you're just going to do the same thing again. You're going to say loops, repeat until they're pumpkins. And the same thing we just did. You're going to say move forward, right? When you're at this point here, you're going to move forward, and then you're going to say check for the corn. Check for the corn. And then when you get to this point here, you're going to say use the function get all pumpkins. So the function here, you see when you say get all pumpkins, it really does this. When you use this one here, check, it does this one. So let's take a look how this goes. Let's look at the next one. So now we have a longer path, and we have two functions, check for the corn and get all the pumpkins. Okay, so our functions make it easier for us because we can do these in a little bit of a quicker fashion. So let's go again with our loop. We have repeat until there are pumpkins. So we're going to use that one. Repeat until there are pumpkins. And what can we do? Again, move forward. And then we're going to use our function to check for corn. Okay, so we're going to go forward, check for corn, forward, check for the corn, forward, etc., etc. Then what are you going to do when you get here? You're going to use your function get the pumpkins. Okay, so you use your functions, get all pumpkins. So let's just see how that goes. Now you're noticing this is very similar to the last one. What they're doing is they just want you to get used to it. You turn left, you go forward, forward. You turn to the left. And the functions make it a lot easier for us because we don't have to do this all over again. And this is just going to be exactly the same as the other one. You're going to say loops, repeat until there are pumpkins. And then you're going to say move forward. And you're going to do a function, check square for corn. Now what do we need to do when we get to the pumpkin? We have to use our function to get all the pumpkins. So we use our function, get all the pumpkins. That will get us that. And then what are we going to do? We're going to move forward. And you turn to the right. Forward, turn to the right. And then this is going to be this is almost exactly the same as this, right? You're going to go loops, repeat until there are pumpkins. And what do you do? Move forward. And you're going to do the same thing. Our functions make it easier for us. You're going to check for your corn. And then you're going to check for the pumpkins. I'm sorry, get the pumpkins. Okay, so functions make it so much easier for us because we could just use this one block rather than having to keep doing this all over again. Okay, let's look at the next one. Now they gave us a new function, pick along the path. Okay, so this function here, pick along the path, it does the same code that we were doing last time. Rather than doing that all over again, you know, how we had to keep dragging it, you can just use a function to make it easier. Just label this pick along path, and now we go here, pick along path, and that will do all of this. So first thing we do, we'll pick along path, and notice it's going to do repeat until they're pumpkins, check for the corn, and move forward, and get all pumpkins. And now we just do it like we did last time. We turn to the left, and then we're going to say forward, forward, and left. And then the left. Now we could use this pick along path again. We're going to use this function again for us. This function, see how much easier it makes it for us, pick along path? Because it just helps us, because all of this is done for us. We only have to use one block now. So this is very similar to the last one. I think it actually may be the exact same maze, but we want to see how much easier it is when we have functions. And it makes it so much easier for us because we could just use pick along path. Forward now, and then we're going to turn to the right. And then we'll use that same function again, pick along path. Pick along path. And see, this time we had fewer blocks and it was much easier because if we're going to use that code over and over again, we just make it a function here. Now I'm going to skip number 8 because that's a video. Okay, so you could watch the video on your own. And on this part, we're going to make our own functions now, okay? So we're going to make our own function that we want to come up with. So I'm going to go to function here, and you could call this, you know, whatever you want. Maybe I'll call it square, or you could call it lettuce, whatever you want to call it. And what do I want to do? I want to figure out a way to do this. So I'm going to say I want to maybe do a loop. I'm going to do a loop because it's a square, right? So I'm going to say maybe repeat maybe 4 times. Because there's 4 sides, and I'm going to say I'm going to move forward, and then I'm going to say get the lettuce, right? And then I'm going to say I'm going to do forward again. I'm going to turn to the right. Okay, so let's see how that goes. So then I can do my function here, and I can take this square and put it in here. Let's see how that goes. So forward lettuce, forward lettuce, forward lettuce, to the right. Okay. So that one, you have a little freedom how you can create it.